Bum 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 dum 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 shoulda dum dum. We do a big city play. Shoulda bum bum dum 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 shoulda bum bum dum 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 shoulda bum bum dum 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 bam dum dum shoulda bum dum 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 bum 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 dum 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 bum dum 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 dum. Slight snag. Power of max survival. Gosh darn it. Gosh darn it. I'm gonna find something to watch on the side.
Well, I kind of want to say that for the
other stream?
The other stream where I'm talking about it, but actually here it is. I can save it. Let's bring it up now. Just give people a sneak peek. This is, and remember, of course.
Dude, this is a horrible gaming experience. I didn't live like this.
I don't know, Linus. I don't have time to research upgrades for this thing.
Welcome back to The Watch, and I am joined by someone new. Marcus, how are you, mate?
I am doing well. I'm very happy to be here. I wasn't expecting to be here, but yeah, I'm looking forward to this, especially seeing as what we're going to be talking about. I want to speak to so many people about it, but so few have watched it.
Because you might have noticed we did do a call to valiant men or women out there to join us, and Marcus, you answered that call.
I did answer that call, and I do have to say though, you are a cruel man for making me watch TLJ again. That was
a lot of people had to.
It was terrible to see that movie again. By the way, it's still terrible. All right, it's still just beyond crap. I couldn't. I was trying to do it by going through characters. It's too much, just too much. But let's talk about something good, not crap.
It was your pain, the genuine pain that you shared in that review. I was just like, I want that pain. I'm going to use that pain.
It all came back.
But good thing we don't have to talk about something painful.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about House of Dragons.
Yeah, I know, right?
But before we even do that, guys, I've extended the graphic novel campaign. And so, Enemies Itself, the graphic novel adaptation of my book. If you hadn't had a chance to get it, we've extended it by 2 weeks. So grab it while you can. It's going crazy. It's going really well. And I'm so excited about that. So Indiegogo, you can get the second edition novel that it's based on as well. You can get it in collector covers, hardcover, and... oh boy, I'm excited because that's all getting reinvested to make more projects, and I want to know how far we can push it. So grab it while you can. Link in the description. And now, House of Dragon. So we reviewed, or mostly I reviewed.
Yeah.
House of the Dragon. My wife joined me on some because I was one of the few people that watched it. But Marcus has watched it.
I have watched it all, mostly at your recommendation, and Drodic and. Even Mauler, he was more jaded than me. So when everyone started going, oh, this actually ain't too bad, and I was watching Rings of Power because massive Lord of the Rings fan, I needed to be reminded that there is some good stuff out there, and House of the Dragon provided that for me. It was therapy.
I could feel your dead soul inside when you.
Here's the thing: you had a week between each of those episodes. Due to certain circumstances, I had to binge to catch up with Rings of Power, and it's as painful as you can imagine, people. It really is.
It is so bad. We're talking about Rings of Power because it's bad.
It'll be a good point of comparison.
It will, and actual fact, I love that we have this point in comparison. And so what we're doing in this video, we want to do like a series, season 1, overview. Retrospective on, now we can kind of comment on some overall arcs.
Yeah.
Okay? If you haven't seen the episode by episode reviews I did, we'll try and avoid spoilers to begin with, give our rating for the whole season, and then talk about some of the details. And so overall, this is masterful.
Yeah, it specifically with one particular character, but a lot of the other ones, I don't want to discredit any of those. They are strong.
You're talking about Viserys, I see.
I am talking about Viserys. He's
what
highlight.
Yeah, like it's amazing. He made the show for me.
Yep.
His progression was done better than any other character,
Yeah.
especially with the time jump. See, there are.
No.
Is it perfect? No. In
No.
fact, there is a big hiccup.
Bad.
But overall, the things that they did well, they did really well. And Viserys was basically like flawless for me.
Yeah.
They did big time jumps between a lot of episodes.
Yeah.
And I think with some of the characters, they failed to show the effect of time on them well enough.
Yeah.
We're talking about like over 30 years, I think.
Yeah,
Full season.
easily. It would have to be around that. Definitely, there are some characters that are left a little bit. I think probably the biggest one would be Harwin Strong was a bit left over. But that came out of that was an interesting development. That's
There's a lot. I think, like for instance, Sir Cole.
Kristen Coulson. Yeah.
Daemon, you could get away with it because Targaryens, they're not exactly kind of human. They have like
As I
they have
understand
dragon blood in them, you know.
Yeah, as I understand it, they do. There's, I'm not sure. Targaryens are always a bit funny to talk about because they're like supposed to be kind of like elves for George, but they're also humans.
Yeah,
so-
I've heard that comparison before as well. It was Gary Nerdrotic.
Yeah, he made that comparison.
And so I think you could get away with it with Daemon.
Yeah.
But like Sir Cole, I think
No.
just at least some graying on the sides. And look, like people, I'm grey. I'm starting to get the grey. Do you see
Yeah.
the grey here? It's a mask of wisdom.
People age.
That's just like and just something subtle.
Yeah.
Even if you're not adding wrinkles, because there are people who don't seem to age, but you can kind of like look at Tom Cruise. Okay. He's like he doesn't age, but you can still see the effect, and they could have at least done that. The thing is, though, with Viserys, flawlessly, they even have his hairline receding and him slowly.
Honestly, there are points where you can just even judge the time jumps just by looking at him.
Yeah.
And you get the idea. Oh, it must be. The disease has gotten worse. This must be a couple of years down the line.
It was done so well. Now, one of the big concerns I had with House of the Dragon, and I think a lot of people had, and this was not an unwarranted concern, was that this was going to be just another one of the shows that put the message as the primary thing. And if you saw what the actors and one of the showrunners who has left the show, thank goodness now, was
Good
saying,
riddance. Go away, director of The Long Night. Stop making your stuff dark. Please.
they were just watching on the wrong TV.
I suppose. Yeah, I know, right?
And so there was those comments, right? And then even the trailer really pushed this, you know, it's men that ruins everything. And men would rather see the world burn, have the world burn than see a woman on the Iron Throne. Something like that.
Yeah, I remember that. That was when I was like, no, thank you. I don't want to. I'm staying away from this.
I know. They were really shooting themselves in the foot with their marketing. Right?
Yeah, they were.
And the thing is, though, in context, the character who actually does say that line. It makes sense for that line.
Yeah, Rainey's.
And then when the show comes, the overall message was actually, if you say that there are woke elements, I would then say, okay, I'll probably still argue those individual elements because a lot of it is very in line with the characters' perspectives. But then I'd counter and say it has some really awesome traditional elements that actually woke people would hate. Like it has one of them, like for instance, one of the things in like that, you know, modern feminists really like push is the inherent violent nature of men and then all the problems in the world is because men are in leadership and women in leadership, and the fact is women can be as aggressive and as like willing for conflict as men.
Oh yeah,
easily so. The difference is usually how they express the willingness to be in conflict. Men, they're stronger than women, and so our natural first kind of tool in our bag is, of course, strength.
Physical strength, yeah.
And the altercations between men, we all know, like men know subconsciously that there's a threat of violence in the air.
Oh yeah, always.
Always. And that can actually breed interesting restraint in men because they know if they cross a certain line, that's, both guys know, that's the line that it's on, right?
Yep.
And unless either of them are willing to go there, they have a kind of level of restraint. What's interesting, in a lot of conflicts between women and men, women don't have that line because they know that they can get away with more before most men would be willing to be violent, which is why women are more than happy to slap a man and feel perfectly fine. And so that's just one cultural example that women are actually, in a lot of cases, easily willing to be as violent as men.
Or even manipulate men to be as violent for their purposes, which we see a lot of in this show.
Yes, right? And on that note, right?
Yeah.
That is actually a shockingly base depiction of just reality.
Well, I mean, it's happened all throughout history. You can look at any period in time. I personally look at Rome. You really think that Brutus's wife wasn't responsible for Caesar's, Because I guarantee you, just look at the sources, you'll see. It's always happened. So it's good to see it here.
It's in the show. And so if people say that there's the woke kind of messaging, the thing is though, well, the show actually has some remarkably based stuff in where they reflect the natural and very common relationships between men and women near perfectly, right? There are women that get men to be violent for them,
Yes,
right?
there are.
Okay, sorry, did I say women or men? I don't know. They're women who get men to be violent for them. And then there are men who are remarkably peaceful.
Yeah.
In actual fact, the most peace-seeking character in the entire show is a man.
Yep.
And he's my favourite character in the show. Not only that, he is a doting father.
Yeah.
He loves his family and children. And he takes on responsibility and tries to be the best leader he can be.
Yeah.
In actual fact, out of all the people who in positions of leadership, even though he makes mistakes, he is by far the best leader. And people say he's an awful one because he made all these mistakes. He was listening to counsel.
If anything, what Viserys taught me is that maintaining peace is way more difficult than sometimes even war. War, at least, once you have your opponent and you declare war on them, it becomes a little bit more simple. You got to try and wipe them out, force them to surrender. Viserys has to negotiate so many different things. He's got to deal with his daughter. He's got to deal with the manipulations of Otto Hightower. He's got to deal with all of this stuff.
The grudges and offences between the different houses, and if he does anything positive in one house, another house might get really offended by that.
I believe he said that in one of the episodes where he's like, what was the line?
He's like that. Like you see, Alison asked him what bothered me, and he basically says that I am forever cursed or something. That
I'm forever doomed to anger one house and the pleasing of another, something like that.
It was just such a good line.
Yeah, it was.
And you could really see it because that was the reality.
Yeah.
It was such a... And so these, like, the depiction of manhood, it shows negative aspects of, over, you could say, even toxic masculinity.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm not perfectly I am perfectly fine for people to admit that there's such a thing as toxic masculinity.
Oh, yeah.
I'm totally against...
Aegon!
I'm totally against vilifying virtuous, positive masculinity, which is just simply called masculinity, as entirely toxic.
Yeah.
Also, perfectly fine with toxic masculinity so long as people acknowledge that there is toxic femininity.
Oh, yeah.
And we see that in this show.
Yes.
Like, there is...
Yes, we do.
There is one character in particular that have men in love with her, and she uses their affection to get them to be obedient to her, to get her to serve, even to the point of that these men are so loyal to her, they will commit murder.
Not just murder, but also murder of significant ones to their lives.
Yes. And that is extreme toxic femininity, right? But the show has, and so it's actually a very balanced depiction. And you do have the characters that feel, men are sexist and they won't have women on the throne. But guess what? There are women who believe that in the show as well.
Oh, yeah.
So overall, in terms of its depiction of, I guess, woke ideology, it's remarkably fair and balanced, which is what we want.
Yeah, you can have all these elements, and you know what the best part about House of Dragon? It justifies all of this. That character you mentioned that's toxic, she does it for a very good reason, because her position, she needs to be manipulated to hold it, and to even allow for her own family to benefit from it, because she's been drilled into her head something very dark is coming, unless she does this.
So many great things. The progression of the characters, they go through really consistent arcs towards the end.
Oh, yeah.
And some characters are consistent, some characters change for valid reasons, and there were characters that I disliked over others, and then towards the end that shifted because of how they were acting and being portrayed.
Yeah.
And
lots of the progression was very logical. You can see how they started out, and you can easily see why they would become the way they become.
Acting was top notch.
Oh, it was from everyone. I mean, and they changed cast a lot, and somehow everyone was able to do their part and do it well and still resemble like the previous cast.
Well, I mean,
Most
there
of
was
them.
some.
There was a few
ones,
that couldn't, but there was a lot that
it's
did.
interesting. For instance, Amond,
That's who I was referencing.
he did not look like his younger self at all. But the thing is, though, the actor that they have for older Amond was just
The
like,
traits carry along, and that's
so perfect, and he has certain physical traits that are very distinctive that will be really hard to find in a younger actor.
Yeah.
And so I know that was a seeming like real world limitation that I'm happy to accept just
The
for
kid's
the
still-
best, because the kid's acting was great.
Oh yes.
And then they got the perfect guy for Eamon in his older, so the fact that he looks nothing alike. All right. This is one of those things where I will push to suspend my disbelief
Yeah.
because the result, the goal,
Oh, yeah.
was so worthwhile. And this is where I kind of talk about this sometimes. That sometimes you find a situation in which pushing aside pure perfect realism
Yeah.
is actually necessary for a better payoff. Sometimes I do the rule of cool,
Yeah.
or I do the awesome factor or fun factor or emotional payoff. It needs to be really good. And in this instance, it's getting the right actor for the job. And so,
Yeah.
if I was in the same position, I had these choices. Excuse me. So whoever's editing that cut, of course, me cleaning out, I would totally have made the same choice.
Yeah.
I get that completely. So anyway, acting was flawless. Oh my goodness, these sets, costumes.
Oh yes. It's good to see that George was finally listened to,
Yes. So,
because there's some really.
sorry, we'll start from. It's good to see.
It's good to see that we actually get proper armor that looks like it could have come from that period.
Yeah, and George has this preference.
Oh, he
he's
does.
he's actually